Welcome back, everybody, to the Below Average Joe's MMA podcast, aka The Gun Show.
Oh, he did it.
It's The Gun Show. If you're listening on Spotify, unfortunately, you have no idea what you're missing. But to our lovely YouTube audience, that's right. You get a little gun action. I'm even showing a little shoulder. Try not to cream yourself, please. Yeah, no sugarcoating it around here, Dom.
I respect it.
There's no foreplay around here. We just spit on it and then just go right in. Anyways, so this is in case you can't tell, it's an after dark episode.
It is after dark.
If when you're watching this on Monday, I will be in Gatlinburg, Tennessee on a nice, lovely family vacation. So to accommodate my traveling schedule for Sunday when we usually record, Dominic has graciously given up his, well, now it's Sunday morning, to get this out of the way. So we are recording this immediately following UFC Apex 58.
Yes.
So Dominic, a little bit new for us here, kind of doing immediate thoughts. No time to really digest. We kind of just had to watch it. We immediately hop on here. How are you feeling? I know we're kind of, we're trying to get through this show efficiently, but I got to ask you, just like, how's the week been going? Anything on the horizon that you're looking forward to? What's going on?
It was a good weekend, man. I actually made another trip up to Columbus, helped the girlfriend move apartments. So that was yesterday. That was a long day. You know how moving goes. It's not fun. Regardless if it's yours or someone else's you're helping, it's not fun.
I think moving's that's when they say that the devil is working, like he's still around.
Yeah.
It's not through alcohol, through drugs, through crime, through any of that. It's through moving.
Apartments, houses, whatever the case may be. So yeah, that was yesterday. It's just been nonstop, kind of busy work this morning, right into the fights this evening, after dark recording today. But that's all right. There's no rest for the wicked. We keep going. We keep chugging forward because we're the Below Average Joes, baby. But it was a good weekend. I'm excited for the week ahead. We've got some beautiful weather lined up. We've got golf outings lined up down here with the buddies. So I'm very excited, Noah. But first and foremost, we got to talk about the fights. How's your weekend? Are you excited for vacation?
Yeah, the weekend's been good. Traveled home. Took the 2-hour trip from Indiana to Ohio Friday after work. I got to leave a little early. My boss was very gracious in letting me kind of take off early to miss some of that traffic through Cincinnati.
Nice.
Which I was thankful for. Still kind of hit the traffic, but that's okay. I won't tell him that. But no, it's been good. Just really just been getting ready to go. Realized on my way back I don't have a suitcase. I was putting all my stuff. So I use a tote as I move all my stuff. I pack all my stuff in totes and move it.
Yeah.
So I basically have been dragging around the same 6 or 7 totes since freshman year of college. Just throw them in the closet. When it's time to move out, pack it all up, take it back. When it's time to move,
it gets the job done.
Yeah, so I've had these 6 or 7 totes, and basically, whenever I go home, I just pack up everything in a tote, which I also use as a dirty clothes hamper.
I remember that. Yes.
So my mom was none the wiser for a long time because she just assumed I was bringing back a mixture of clean stuff, dirty stuff, whatever. No, my mom does not still do my laundry, by the way. But I'm just saying. Then I realized on my drive home, I don't have a suitcase. I just don't have one.
Oh, not at all.
No.
Oh.
And I'm like, well, shit, I guess I'll just take my stuff in the tote. Now, in case you can't tell, I'm in my mom's office right now. You see the decor in the background.
Yeah.
My mother, great woman.
Mm-hmm.
She likes her nice things. She likes to live
on the wild side.
Interesting choice of words. I was gonna say she likes to live a little the high life a little bit.
Okay.
I guess high life in a general sense, not we're not rich, but you know what I mean. She likes her nice things.
Yes.
She likes very materialistic stuff, like nice car, nice utilities, all that stuff. And who doesn't? But she was like, absolutely not. You are not taking a tote on vacation. You need a suitcase, and we're gonna go get you one. So after we ate dinner, I drive her and my stepdad to Kohl's, and I'm like, I'm not going in because I'm kind of pissed. I'm like, you're forcing me to get a suitcase. I don't want to get a suitcase.
Right.
I don't want to buy a suitcase. And she's like, no, you have to buy a suitcase. And I'm like, why do I have to buy a suitcase? So then I said, no, you go in and get it. I said, I'll pay you back. I said, go ahead. I was kind of throwing a little hissy fit, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they go in, and they come out with one, and they're like showing it to me. I'm like, oh, wow, it looks like it's great. I said, awesome. How much was it? And they're like, oh, it was $120. And I was like,
You're like,
you telling me that shit wasn't $15.99?
so you want to go and just make that an early birthday present?
So I was like, man, what the? Sally Mae's like calling me, like saying, yo, you gotta pay your first student loan payment. Now all of a sudden, I didn't want the suitcase. I'm being forced to buy the suitcase.
Right.
And then I'm being forced to pay with my left leg for the suitcase.
Well.
And then I got told that I was out of line. I was like, what do you mean? No, it's all good, but it caught me off guard in the moment. I didn't realize the market value for suitcases was so high.
I guess they are pricey.
I didn't know that. I believe her. Like, she said there was like two options, and the other one was like much more expensive.
Yeah.
So I believe her, and it's not that the money is like an issue. It's just I was expecting to pay like $20.
Not $120.
Yeah. So I was like, wow. Well.
Well, at least you have it now.
Yeah, that's very true, and I know I just told that whole story, and you guys at home are like, today, Junior, with the fucking fights. So, all right, let's just go straight into the main event. I know that's what you guys are here to talk about. Rafael Squared went down at the Apex, Las Vegas, Nevada, UFC Vegas or Apex, whatever your fancy. 58, and Rafael Fiziev gets the 5th round TKO over Rafael Dos Anjos only 18 seconds in.
Blinking, you miss it.
Yeah, really. I actually did miss it. I had to go pee between the 4th and 5th round, and I come out, and I could hear it in the bathroom, like Brendan Fitzgerald going nuts, and I'm like, man, I said, as a guy who bet on RDA, I'm like, maybe RDA pulled off the Hail Mary? Man. Yeah, not what happened. Fiziev becomes only the 3rd man, I believe, in RDA's illustrious career to finish him via strikes. I know he's only the 3rd man in the UFC to do it. The first since RDA's debut in the UFC to drop him. Jeremy Stevens dropped RDA back in his debut. I found this out for clarity. Since that debut, though, he has not been dropped in any fight since. Even in the Eddie Alvarez one was a standing TKO loss. So here, Fiziev drops him, gets the follow-up shot. Mark Smith, the referee, steps in. That's it. Dominic, we got mostly 4 rounds and then a nice little cherry on top with the finish in round 5. What takeaways did you? I guess what really? Maybe let me ask you something maybe more interesting. Like, what really was there anything that surprised you about either contestant? Was it whether good or bad about Fiziev or RDA that you weren't expecting going in?
Well, I knew that Rafael Fiziev's takedown defense was great. He had that 95% takedown defense going into this fight, but against no one like RDA. But he did phenomenal in takedown defense throughout this fight. I think probably ended up around defending 12 out of 14, 13 out of 15, probably something like that by the end of the fight. So yeah, while the fight itself, I guess, played out, because in my head I was kind of leaning Fiziev by decision, thinking he wins the early rounds, RDA comes on later, and that's kind of what happened because RDA I gave the 4th round to. But yeah, the takedown defense looked great. But other than that, he fought how I expected him to. RDA fought how I expected him to. And I mean, yeah, it was a good performance from both guys. And then obviously when you get a knockout in the fifth round, that does, like you say, add a cherry on top for Fiziev.
You kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I asked you that question because, truthfully, from my perspective, again, these are live thoughts here following immediately after
Yeah.
the show has gone off the air. So for all we know, we might wake up tomorrow and feel slightly different. But I didn't feel like this fight really went about.
Yeah.
The
I
biggest
mean,
surprise was the finish. I mean,
yeah.
to get that finish so quickly in round five and to do it against RDA.
Right.
I mean, that was a huge statement for Fiziev, who was already on his way to a likely decision victory. Now, I will say, I thought round three was very close. Admitted betting bias here. I mean, I bet on RDA money line. I thought round three was very close. I guaranteed most people would probably score it for Fiziev. The striking I thought was pretty even, but I think the failed takedowns of RDA might sway
Hmm.
judges into scoring it for Fiziev. Round four was a great round for RDA, and I went,
Yes.
okay, if he can get a quick takedown in round five, I said he could actually maybe
Yeah.
finish him here. Like I said,
Time to
because
work.
I really saw Fiziev slowing down again, like I saw in round three against Bobby Green,
Mm-hmm.
or if it was round two, I don't remember. I had a
Oh, I
gentleman
saw that.
watching, and
Yeah.
he left a comment. I don't remember exactly, but I remember him slowing down in that fight.
Yeah.
And here I saw similar shades. I was like, okay, he's slowing down right here. This is where RDA. That's when RDA got the first takedown of the fight. So,
Yeah.
um, but really everything else was pretty much as expected.
Mm-hmm.
Viziev had the advantage in the striking. He was landing hard shots. He was very fast, doing some matrix shit with his defense. He was throwing a lot of crazy kicks. RDA hanging in there, having good striking himself. He was able to get off a few good shots himself, but obviously not the level of striker Fiziev is. Um, I didn't expect like I kind of thought RDA would struggle to get takedowns early on. Fiziev has the best takedown defense percentage wise in the entire UFC outside of Kamaru Usman, even
Yeah.
though Usman's number, I mean, Colby technically got a takedown in the second fight, but they don't count it. Whatever, you know. I mean, it's, but Fiziev, that's saying a lot. I mean, this is a guy who everybody knows that that's where you need to get the fight, and he has made sure that nobody can take him there.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think the opponents he's fought before this weren't up to snuff to really challenge him in that department, and RDA was. And RDA, for the most part, just wasn't able to do it. I thought RDA, what I was hoping I'd see more of from him early on was not necessarily even going for takedowns, just using a takedown attempt to simply put Fiziev against the cage and try to kind of take away some of that energy that way, slow the pace
Yeah.
down a little bit, but make Fiziev work at the same time. Like make him have to fight off the takedown, but all you're trying to do is just put him up against the fence and kind of pelt him with some shots. Um, hit a knee him into the obliques and stuff like
Right.
that. Really try
Right.
to just slow him down. There wasn't a ton of that, but all in all, I mean, this fight really, I think most people were leaning Fiziev going in. They thought it was probably closer than the odds had it, and I think that that's kind of what you got here. But I mean, to finish RDA
Yeah.
should
That's
not
big.
be that cannot be understated or overstated.
Yeah.
Uh, that is quite the badge of honor for a young fighter like Viziev,
Mm-hmm.
and I take that very seriously. I do. Could you argue the finish was a little quick? Yes. Like I'm not. I don't know. To me, it's all like I will say, if Herb Dean was reffing this fight, I feel like some people would have said some stuff. But I'm just, hey,
Yeah.
look, I'm not. That's not the argument I want to get into today, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it could have been a little quick. Like maybe RDA still had a little bit left. Maybe he could have, but I think that was gonna be about it for RDA's chances in winning that fight.
Yeah.
I didn't really see him coming back from that because it was a great shot, and he
Mm.
shot out like a cannon in round five. Um, but I do take this seriously. I take that win very seriously. Not only was it a win, but it was kind of a statement at the end there.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the real surprise comes in, the real shock factor, the real like show me something here. So Dominic, with that being said, how high do you kind of match this guy up next? I mean, I know he's just getting the win here, and we have a lot of lightweights kind of sitting around doing a whole lot of nothing right now. That's kind of the way I'm looking at the top of this division. I think there's a lot of guys kind of getting nervous.
Yeah.
They're trying to make their money while they can because I think a lot of these guys that have been up at the top for a long time recognize that the Gamrots, the Makhachevs, the Saryukians, the Fizievs,
They're coming.
they're coming. And I don't know how many of these guys, the Dustin Poiriers, the Justin Gaethjes, the Michael Chandlers, uh, even Beneil Dariush maybe. Like, I don't know if those guys, I don't know how many of those they can win.
Yeah.
So, um, for you with this win, where do you kind of place Fiziev next? What kind of matchup can he really expect in his next fight?
Well, I mean, to your point, with a lot of these veterans that are in that top five, I don't think they're going to accept a fight with these young
Mm.
guys right now, at least until they get their name up a little bit more. But even then, I just don't know. Because a lot of these guys don't even have that many fights left in them, So why would they want to fight some young up and coming guy where they'll just be like, oh, they can wait, I'll leave, and then they'll come back. So call me crazy here, and I don't even really necessarily like that I'm doing this, but I kind of feel like it's the route the UFC might do. Rafael Fiziev and Matos Gamrot 5-round main event, 7 versus
Ooh,
8.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Really going for it right
that's what
there.
I would do. That's what I would do.
And that's a fight where the rankings don't tell the story. Like, that's
No,
truly a title eliminator type fight. That is
yeah,
a top 5 level main event.
yeah. And I would
Um,
again, like I wish both could fight further up, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So,
well, we can kind of walk through this together. We can look at the lightweight division,
hmm
kind of where it stands, and see if we can put the pieces together here.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And I know that this is changing on a week to week basis, but and maybe we just talked about this kind of a little bit last week with Volkanovski now trying to
hmm
throw his name in the hat. So technically, we don't have a champion. We do,
yeah,
but you get what I mean.
yeah.
The belt is up for grabs technically. Charles Oliveira should, and I hope will be a part of that vacant title fight whenever it's announced.
Yeah.
It's got to be either Islam Makhachev or Alexander Volkanovski.
Right. One would think.
I would slightly prefer, after kind of laying on it, sleeping on it a little bit, I would slightly prefer the Islam Makhachev fight.
Yeah.
I think I'd prefer Volkanovski to just stick at 145. I think there's a lot of good matchups still to make there, and I don't think he's quite like cleaned out the division. Beating Max 3 times says a lot,
Yeah.
but I still think there's other guys. I think Josh Emmett, even though you might not give him much of a chance, him, Yair
If
Rodriguez.
Yair wins next week, yeah.
Yeah, you got good fights. I mean, even Calvin Cater could work his way right back. The
Yeah.
winner of Chikadze Sodiq is going to
Arnold
be right there.
Allen's
Arnold
there.
Allen, yep. So, and not to mention like Bryce Mitchell's on the
Yeah.
way up. Like
Yeah.
there's solid guys that are on their way up. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to favor any of them to beat Volkanovski. I'm just saying I would prefer Volkanovski sticks around there, and not to mention Henry Cejudo could be a fight as well.
True.
So let's do Charles Islam, right? And let's say that happens by the end of the year. So
hmm
that puts puts the title picture kind of out of reach for now. Then you got Dustin Poirier, who had that moment at UFC 276. The video came out of him and Michael
I
Chandler
saw
kind of
that.
going at it. But from all I keep hearing is that there's a good chance that him and Nate Diaz still gets made. That's what I keep
I
kind of.
still hope that's what happens for
And
Dustin.
when I say I keep hearing that, I keep going off of the way Ariel talks about it a little bit. He's very coy,
Yeah.
He has to be because he's not trying to blow up anything for Nate here. He's really advocating for Nate to get that fight. But I go off of the tone. Chance that September or October you might see that fight get announced. That seems to be the way that they're heading is for that fight still.
Yeah.
Not sure if that's going to hold true. But let's say Dustin Poirier is taken there. Justin Gaethje going to get surgery.
True.
He likely won't be back until early next year.
Yeah.
So he's kind of out of the picture. At least I would think so. I mean, Fiziev's likely not taking a fight until towards the end of the year, anyways. But after that, I mean, Beneil Dariush, I think, is a great choice.
It's him and Michael Chandler. That's the only
Did I
two left.
mention was Beneil Dariush who I said for Matos Gamrot? I think it
It
is.
may have been.
Poor
Poor
Beneil.
Benil.
I know. That's he's the odd man out, and that's
Yeah.
unfortunate. I don't. I kind of want Beneil to fight like soon though, and I
What do you
that
think
was
about
the
if he were to fight Michael Chandler?
yeah. I mean that's to me. I wonder if Michael. So did you see Michael Chandler's Instagram post that he kind of directed at Charles Oliveira?
I saw he was asking for basically like a vacant shot if he wants to wait for Conor, he'll fight
Yes. So
Islam.
he kind of worded it like if Charles is adamant about taking a Conor fight and not fighting until
Yeah.
then he would love to step up and take a vacant title shot against Islam
Well, of course.
and then hold on to the belt, keep the seat warm, in
Yeah.
his words, until Charles would be ready to come back. Um, Not that I mind him calling a shot, but I think there's just a lot of flaws in that
Yeah.
scenario. I
Yes.
don't see Connor taking a Charles fight, especially if there's no belt on the line.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's the big one. I
And just
don't.
Chandler
I
like
don't think.
shouldn't
I don't.
be.
Well, I don't think Charles is going to want to wait that long to
Yeah.
fight. I mean, he's
Yeah.
literally the cream of the crop in the UFC. It took him so long to get to this point. Like, why
Yeah.
wouldn't you maximize that? But yeah. So I guess we're on the same page there. I do think Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush sounds pretty fucking awesome.
It'd be a
As
cool
like a,
fight, I
as a,
think.
as a, they probably put it on a pay per view because Michael Chandler seems to kind of be that kind of guy for the UFC. But
Yeah.
um,
And
I
then
think you're right. I
then
think
it's
Fiziev
Matos and
Gamrot.
yeah.
Honestly, Dom, I think it might be time to kind of go ahead and let these young guys kind of work themselves out. I mean,
Eventually it's gonna just have to
I know it's
happen.
it's going to be frustrating for a lot of fans probably if that gets announced because they're going to be like, why aren't some of these guys in front of them getting told they need to fight these
Right.
guys? But I do think you kind of break it down, and there is legit kind of
Yeah.
reasons around. None of
Yeah.
these guys I think are avoiding those fights, but I do think that there's a lot of there's a lot of big money fights available in this division, and I think there's a lot of guys at the top that are wanting to maximize what time they have left, and a potential money to be made from a Gamrot or Fiziev fight might be significantly less than fighting each other, like Poirier Chandler or
Right.
Poirier fighting Diaz or Gaethje fighting whoever. I mean, you got all those scenarios out there, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that idea. Now, the more I'm thinking about Fiziev Gamrot, dude,
I mean
that's
it's a sick
actually
fight.
and the stylistically, I mean, what
Yeah.
Gamrot
Yeah.
showed against Saryukian, I mean, wow, you really sold me on that. I think again,
It's
not what I thought I was going to say coming in, but once you break down the rest of the division, I don't know if I want to put Beneil in that fight. Just like I already did it with Gamrot, felt bad enough doing it there, but man, Beneil. That
Neil
man's
already deserves arguably a title shot because of his win streak, but so if you're not going to give him that, give him a big name for him to fight. You
yeah,
know what I mean? The poor guy. It's
yeah.
just crazy.
So I guess before we kind of move on here, RDA
Yeah.
did take a pretty big loss here.
Yeah.
What does this mean for his future? I don't know if we're being a little too premature in talking about it, but I mean, I'm not thinking retirement or anything, but I'm assuming this guy's going to want to keep fighting.
Yeah.
What's is it too early to say? What this loss kind of means for him and his I guess his future.
I think he still is obviously definitely good enough to fight and beat really good talent, but
Mhm.
I think that one last run for the title that was very much in reach going into this main
Yeah.
event is probably gone now, which is unfortunate for a guy that really was putting it all together again at 36, at 37. I didn't realize he had such a bad year last year with he had two surgeries that I didn't know about until the promos and stuff today. So
Mhm.
I hope he continues fighting and gets a couple of good fights. I mean, I part of me doesn't even want to really matchmake for the guy because I don't want to put him up against these other young
I
up and
mean,
comers. But
the
call me
name that.
crazy.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, what if we run it back with him and Tony?
Yeah, yeah. A fight I thought of, and I know I said a different guy last week, but I actually prefer him to be the fight that would welcome Max Holloway to lightweight.
Oh, that'd be an interesting fight. That
I
would be
think that'd
very
be a
interesting.
very. I think that's probably better than doing Gaethje because I feel like you're kind of throwing Max to the wolves again. If you, I feel like Max, if he goes to lightweight, he should probably not fight like a top five guy, and I think
Yeah.
RDA would be the perfect opponent, another champion.
That's a great fight too. Like two legends of UFC, and
You
that's
know,
a
RDA at this point in his career, he's not fighting, 3, 4 times a year. He's usually doing about twice. So
yeah,
we probably won't see him until early next year.
yeah.
That's just an option I'm throwing out there. I fear otherwise you're kind of looking at him taking like a Saryukin fight. Like I feel like Arman,
I don't want that, for him.
I get it, but I mean again, like that's Arman I think is still deserving of fighting a top 10 opponent and
Yeah,
RDA kind of fills a really good role where he's not necessarily like a star. Like I mean he's got the accolades, right? He's been in the UFC a long time. He's in the 20 win club. He's a former lightweight champion. He's a stud all around.
yeah,
But he's a little bit below like a Tony in terms of even star power or fan favorite kind of thing.
yeah. That's
Not
true.
saying not saying he should be, just that's kind of the reality.
Yeah,
But he's a great gatekeeper right now. And I
and
hate
that's
that.
not even a negative
It's not
connotation.
a negative,
Yeah,
but I think if you're RDA and you're committed to continuing your career, but you kind of recognize maybe he doesn't. I'm sure he still thinks he could still put a string of wins together and get a title fight. But if we're kind of closing the door on that, the next best thing is to be testing out these guys that are kind of ready to get that top 10 matchup. I mean, I don't think it'd be crazy for him to upset Arman Saryukin, but I also think Arman could, I mean, it could be just a lot of what we saw here with Fiziev. But I mean, he was very competitive with Fiziev, even if he
he
was
was.
losing.
He was.
So I get what you're saying. I don't dislike a Tony fight. Um,
I
I
like,
don't know.
yeah, RDA Tony, names like Tony, Dan Hooker, Diego Ferreira.
Ooh, Dan Hooker's a good one
I
too.
like those types of fights,
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I do agree with that. I do like the idea of Dan Hooker. The timing's got to kind of match
Of
up too.
course.
So,
Of course.
but all the respect to both these guys for taking this fight for obvious reasons. RDA kind of probably should have been fighting someone. In an
Right.
ideal world, he's fighting a top five opponent, coming off of two back-to-back just baller wins.
Yeah.
Fiziev, I felt like this was the toughest matchup for him from here to the title. So he passed that. I mean, all the
And like
credit
you
for
were
both
saying
guys.
Friday, he was wanting it, too. Like
Yeah,
no one else
no.
calls out RDA, so
This
yeah.
fight fell out. They could have went their separate ways,
Yep.
but Fiziev continued to hammer that that's the fight he wants. So
100%.
respect to both guys. But
Absolutely.
we got more on this card to come. We do have one little tidbit here, real quick, and I'm very happy to say this one. Jimmy the Brick Flick is ending his retirement from MMA and will be returning to the UFC. For those of you that don't know or don't remember, Jimmy Flick was he was a contract winner from season 4, I believe, of Dana White's Contender
Oh
Series back
yeah.
in 2020,
Wow.
and he was a standout. He's a flyweight, which is always kind of adds a little more intrigue for guys like us because
Yes.
that's not a deep division. He came in, got a great win in his debut against Cody Durden, actually of all people, who's kind of his name's grown a little bit since then with the flying triangle,
It was
just a
so
crazy
sick.
submission. Um, Retired after that, unfortunately. Kind of called it quits. Said he did what he wanted to do in the sport.
Yeah.
I'm not sure his reasoning for wanting to come back, but I am not opposed to seeing Jimmy Flick back in that flyweight division. I actually am very excited about it.
I mean, based off of the short life we got to see from him with Contender Series and UFC, who are we to say that he can't come in and crash right into that top 15, top 10 of the flyweight division? It's not hard to do. Like you said, it's not a deep division. But this guy could literally come in, win a fight, and booyah, you're right there with all these other dudes that we talk about all the time. So I love that he's coming back. Very fun fighter. Likes to just kind of go all out. And again, when you're pulling off flying triangles and shit, come on, come back.
Yeah. Moving on to the fight announcements now. We got a lot on here, a lot of fight denouncements, but a lot
It's
of replacements. So
true.
we start with next week's card, UFC Long Island. One of the more anticipated fights on the undercard was the Billy Squared,
Yeah.
or Bill Squared, I guess. Yeah, Billy Quarantillo taking on Bill Algeo. Unfortunately, Billy Quarantillo is out of that fight with an injury. Bill Algeo, though, will be fighting Herbert Burns, the brother of Gilbert Burns, who we have not seen since his very shocking loss at UFC 252, I think, to Daniel Pineda.
Wow, it's been that
Is
long.
that really? I think that's his last fight. 'Cause I don't think he's won since. I don't think. I
I
could be
don't.
wrong, but that's
There
the
might be
last.
one in there that's forgettable, but
But
yeah,
that's still the big takeaway right now. And
yeah,
Herbert Burns was originally scheduled to fight someone on this card, but his opponent had to pull out
right.
as well. So that's why you're kind of getting these two matched up. So, yes, both taking this opponent on short notice, but at least both guys in fight camp,
Yeah,
ready to go. I think it's a good fight. I think Bill Algeo is a very talented guy. He's 2-2 in the UFC, but I think he's taken a lot of tough competition.
great fights. Yeah,
Herbert Burns, a guy viewed as having a lot of potential right away. Started out hot, got the knockout of Nate Landwehr. That was
yeah.
really awesome. But then, highly disappointing performance from him against Daniel Pineda. He lost weight, or he missed weight going into that fight. And Pineda just turned out to be such a fucking. I mean, that dude's a
Kill
fucking
or be
brick.
killed. That
Yeah.
guy.
So I did. That was kind of unknown at the time.
Yeah,
Daniel Pineda was looked at as like a stepping stone, and he did not like that.
yeah,
So I think this is a good fight. It sucks not having Billy Q on the card, but um, it might end up being a better fight having Algeo fight Herbert Burns, just because Billy Q might be just a bit above Algeo right now. You get what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. I see that. It's definitely going to be a fun fight.
Yeah. Following that, July 23rd, the next week, UFC London, the second
Man,
time we are going there. Darren Till is out of his co-main event spot with the Joker, Jack Hermansson. Just a string of bad
yeah.
luck and for Darren Till and disappointing performances mixed in. It's been a rough few years for him. He is being replaced
Oh my
by
goodness.
Chris Curtis, and I do want to start with the positive here. What an opportunity for Chris Curtis, a man
Oh
who
man.
was so disappointed that the Tuesday after his last fight against Vieira, he didn't have a number next to
Yeah,
his name.
yeah,
I remember I was watching an interview he did with the Schmo, and he's like, Dana, where's my number? He's like, come
yeah,
on. So now he's not just getting an opportunity for a number, Dom. He's getting an opportunity for a top 10
yeah. Number 8.
opponent right here. And you know what?
I
I
love it.
love the
I
fight.
love it.
I'm not saying that he's going to win because Jack Hermanson, very good. But I don't think he's outmatched either going in on
Mm-mm.
paper. So I think it's a great fight. Any thoughts on that on the positive side?
Yeah, I just think it's so sick. One, that Chris Curtis is willing to do that, travel all the way over there to London after just fighting in a pretty, hard fought victory that he had against Vieira a couple weeks ago. But that performance against Vieira, you look at that takedown defense and whatnot, that's got to get you excited to go and see him fight Jack Hermansson because Jack is great on the ground, we know, but he's willing to stand and get in a war on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Curtis, the same way. I think that's actually a sick, sick fight for like bonus potential.
And I
Very much.
think they're going to keep that as the co-main event. It wouldn't surprise me if Patty Pimlet gets bumped up to that spot, but I think they're going to keep it the
I
co-main.
would keep that. I like it.
And I like it. I'm glad to see Chris Curtis getting that opportunity, a guy who's been around for so
Mm-hmm.
long. Good for him. Now for Darren Till, the negative here.
Man.
Following this, how much added pessimism do you get about Darren Till's current state and kind of his future prospects here? Because we know how talented Darren Till is. His potential has been through the roof for so long. He was kind of looked at as a leader of the next generation of European fighters, kind of following, the Michael Bispings of the world
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. Um, he started out real hot, getting great wins over like Donald Cerrone, and then he had that very close decision with Stephen Thompson that a lot of people disputed.
Yeah.
Darren Till missed weight. They still gave him a title fight after against Tyron Woodley. He gets smashed, and then it's really ever since then it's been kind of a rocky
Mm.
road.
Mm-hmm.
Knocked out by Jorge Masvidal in a fight that was looked at as his kind of bounce back fight. Didn't go his way. He gets that win over Kelvin Gastelum that was close, but he did the job. And then it's just kind of, I don't know. It's just in between having these major injuries that have kept him out for extended periods. He apparently fought on a potentially torn ACL against Derek Brunson back
Yeah.
a year ago.
Yeah.
So, is there a lot of added pessimism now about his future and his present value as it stands?
I think there has to be. I think there has to be serious concern for just honestly just his long-term health in general, but especially fight career wise. Like I want to be optimistic and say, well, good thing he's still pretty young. I don't even know if he's 30 yet or
He's
he's right or
29.
yeah, but these serious injuries when you're tearing your ACLs, blowing out your knees and stuff, man, especially when you're in the fight game or any sport for that matter. We've seen people not be able to come back and be what they ever close to were in the past after injuries like that. So it just feels like every year for the past 3 or 4 years, there's been something going on with Darren Till. Fights getting canceled. That Tapology page picture we saw the
Mm,
other day in our group chat. He's had like 6 canceled bouts within the last like 2.5 years, which is just so unfortunate because I feel like a lot of them have been because of him due to injuries, whether it's small or large. So I am pessimistic about his future. I'm not saying we won't ever see him fight again in the UFC, but it's going to be one of those types of careers that I'm gonna have to go out and say, especially if he never does reach like another, even contend for a title again, what could have been had all these injuries
mm,
not accumulated and
mm.
stuff. Because obviously we know he fought healthy, got pushed into the title shot really fast, but I feel like that was kind of just a result of being pushed too quickly. I still felt like he had the talent to compete for titles, but now I don't know, man. His whole career is in question, in my opinion.
Wow. I do not feel near as strong as you actually on this. I do agree that it's hard to not look at the situation and get frustrated, I think is a good word, and obviously be pessimistic about um I definitely feel pessimistic in the sense of like those injuries could really end up being a problem. Like it just
Yeah.
if he can just never be truly healthy, even to the point where when he's going into a fight he's severely handicapped. Like
Hmm.
it's just hard to really buy in. But what I will say is I feel like if you take out the injuries, which just walk with me here, I'm not saying that they don't matter, but just if you take them out and look at the decisions he's been making to kind of improve his camps and whatnot, I think it's been great. Him in Sweden,
Yeah.
working with him and Hamzat, the best buddies, I think
Hmm.
that whole operation he's got going on there is probably the best decision he could have made. So in terms of what he's doing for his game, I think he's kind of killing it right now. He's going to the place that's really going to make him work and test him, and him and Hamzat are basically BFFs. And
Yeah.
Hamzat's one of the best wrestlers in the upper weight classes, and Darren Till, we all know that's kind of where he's struggled against. He's such a talented striker, so
Hmm.
they're kind of trading off one another. I think it's fantastic. So again, the injuries are concerning because they do just keep popping up. But I still feel like some sort of sense of like I just kind of look at this and go, okay, maybe it's just a slight overreaction.
Hmm.
Again, the injuries are there. The injury is concerning and the fact that they piled up. But I just can't help but feel like, man, this dude is really just he's on the verge of shining again. And it's just about getting in there. And
Yeah.
obviously that's a big if, right? But I'm not sure how serious this injury is. I don't know what this fight was announced. I mean, it felt like it's been a while, so who knows kind of maybe this is a lingering part of that ACL injury. I don't know. I don't know. Um I would just kind of say I guess for now I don't my his future, like his career's not. I'm not at any point going to be questioning his career off of this yet.
Yeah,
I
fair.
like to me like, and that might blow up in my face because if you're right and he kind of is never really able to get back in there, or even when he does, he just doesn't look the same.
Yeah.
Then it's going to catch me off guard a little bit more. But for now, I still feel pretty good about him as long as because I think he's doing the right things out of the cage as far as where he's spending his time doing his camp and whatnot.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm a little more optimistic about his future, I guess.
I like it. I like it.
Next one, PFL. Antonio Carlos Jr.
Yeah.
out. He was the number one seed going into the playoffs in the light heavyweight division. Unfortunately, Shoeface is out of the playoffs. Now, Omari Akhmedov, his scheduled opponent, will be taking on the number five seed, Josh Silveira. So, Josh Silveira, the former double champ of LFA, he made his debut for the PFL a couple weeks ago. Got a second round finish, first round finish. I can't remember. I think it was a
Undefeated,
first
right?
round. I don't know. I don't know if he might be, but definitely a stud.
Yeah.
He is the son of I'm not gonna remember who it is. He is the son of someone who is like a top dog at one of these big gyms, and I can't.
Gotcha.
You know how bad that's my weakness with MMA knowledge is the
Yeah.
gym stuff. I'm not good with that. So he has kind of got the lineage. You know, he's an elite fight, or he seems to be like an elite prospect.
Right.
Um, he looked fantastic in his debut. I think it was a first round finish, but he unfortunately that was his only fight of the season.
Yeah.
So he was like tied, you know, and blah blah blah. But now he gets his chance. So I guess there's a bright side. There's a happy ending to this that a guy like Josh Silveira, so young, so talented, gets another fight. You know, doesn't have to wait a whole nother year to get back in there. But got to be a little gutted for Shoeface, right?
Yeah, it sucks, man. This was a chance to go back to back, put another million in the bank. He was looking so good throughout this season, but again, you do have to feel good for a guy like Josh Silveira because he was on the whatever your
Challenger
show, yeah,
series.
Challenger Series too.
My
So
show, yes.
yeah. And obviously Omari Akhmedov has looked great since he transitioned over to PFL as well. So, another former UFC guy that still has a chance to get in there for the title. I feel bad for Shoeface. It's unfortunate. Hopefully he'll come back next year and get another shot for going for a second title. But yeah, I mean, again, he was fifth place. He got a finish in his fight. If he deserves it point wise, in the way that PFL does their points, put him in there. I think it's a good test, though. It's a young guy against a very,
Yeah.
very seasoned veteran in Omari Akhmedov. It's going to be his hardest test to date for Silveira, unquestionably.
As a fan, I felt like with Antonio Carlos Jr. in here, he was kind of an inevitable winner. Like he just felt like he was going to win no matter what, kind of
Hmm.
thing. I could be overestimating him a little bit, but now that Josh Silveira's been introduced, I'm actually super interested to see if he can actually win this thing
That'd be
because
quite the story,
he
too.
is very. I mean, he's young. He's not fought. I mean, he's LFA is his highest level of competition.
Yeah,
Um, Sorry, my sister texted me and I
you're good.
was just reading it a little bit, but all in all, I just think that'd be a really interesting story. As a fan, I can't deny I'm more interested in this, but I
Mm,
also I'm gutted a little bit for
right.
Antonio. You know, that's $1 million.
Yeah.
It's not something you want to miss out on. You know,
Yes, very.
September 17th. This was actually announced on the broadcast tonight as the co-main event underneath the Corey Sandhagen Song Yadong fight.
Love it.
Giga Chikadze is looking to bounce back from his disappointing outing in his first main event against Calvin Cater, and he's doing so against a guy who is coming off of his bounce back, coming off of his toughest fight to date against Arnold Allen, where he lost, and Sodiq Yusuff coming off a win
Yeah.
over Alex Caceres. So, Dom, you're a big Sadiq Yusuff fan. How do you evaluate his chances here against Giga Chikadze? And just how do you like this matchup overall?
I like it in terms of like the careers of both guys for sure. When you look at Giga, he got his first chance at a main event. He failed really relatively badly. Not that it's a slight to lose to Calvin Cater, by the way. Dude's an animal. But
Tough
Now
loss.
so you have to bounce back, and it's not like he's fighting some unknown guy. He's still fighting a number 12 rank in Sodiq, and Sodiq has to fight up now. Like you said, he lost his toughest fight to Arnold Allen. He took a step back and fought Caceres. Now he's bouncing back up. It's two guys meeting just in the middle, essentially. And both strikers, but in completely different ways. Giga, a great kickboxer, great at distance. Sodiq, more of a in your face, likes to get in the phone booth, press you up against the cage, working his clinch. So I like it a lot. I think there's a lot of tests that need to be passed by both guys, and they're going to offer that to each other. So I very much like that, and especially as a co-main event underneath of Sandhagen and Yadong, they both feel right to be placed right there. So
I like the fight more for Giga than I do Sadiq.
mm-hmm.
And this is why I was partly joking in the text I sent.
I know.
But I did it more to get a reaction out of
Yeah.
you. But I will say, for Giga, I'm hearing like knocking.
Morse code.
I know. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Anyways. So for Sadiq, or sorry, now I'm all flustered.
For Giga.
I like this fight for him because he's coming off a pretty tough loss after he kind of got shot up pretty quick. I mean,
He did.
he went from a guy who had a couple real disappointing, boring performances, and then he got I forget who he knocked out. He knocked out someone, and then he had the Giga kick against Cub Swanson,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously Edson Barboza fight. He puts on a great performance. So
Yeah.
it was pretty much like bam, bam, bam. He is all of a sudden your new contender.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Calvin Cater was looking for his bounce back. Funny how so many bounce backs in this discussion. And Calvin Cater put it on him.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of beat the brakes off of him for 5 rounds. It was like the Diet Coke version of
Of
Max Holloway did to Calvin the year before. It was just funny. It was the first main event of each year. I don't know. It's funny. But I think this is the proper step back. A guy like Sodiq Yusuff, ranked right outside the top 10. But even if you take the rankings out of it, this is kind of going to lead into why I think for Sodiq, I don't like the matchup as much, because even though Sodiq is taking a step forward, which you can argue is probably rightfully so after getting that win over Caceres, I have a hard time seeing where he wins this fight right now.
Yeah, like on paper. I see that.
I think it's a tough matchup for him for sure. Because Sodiq likes to stand, he likes to trade, he likes to strike. He's very calculated and methodical with the way he strikes. He picks his shots very almost to an annoying degree where you kind of hope he's a little more active sometimes. Giga Chikadze is, I think, just going to be a bit too advanced in the striking for him. I could be wrong. Sodiq may have a power advantage there. You would like to see Sodiq try to evolve a little bit and round his game, because he does have the build of a guy who could have a decent wrestling base.
Yeah, he's very strong.
And very strong. He could utilize a clinch game a lot more. He just doesn't do it. He stays at distance so much. Like in Caceres fight, he was the one.
That's the guy you don't want to do that with.
Yeah. He was keeping a distance the entire time. So I guess I get to Giga. I just think he might get kind of. I worried that this might not be a great fight for him.
Yeah, fair.
But for Giga, I feel like it's kind of a
perfect fight.
Perfect comeback fight in a lot of ways. I like Sodiq. It's just that the matchup,
Right.
Our main event for October 1st has been announced. A 5-round main event between Mackenzie Dern and Yan Xiaonan. So number 4 and number 5 in the women's strawweight division. Dominic, your thoughts on this as a main event and just as a fight as a whole?
Main event, I don't think it needs to be. I feel like we do a good job of justifying what we need to see as main events, and I don't necessarily think this checks boxes. But I do like the fight itself. Like, it makes sense for both women. Mackenzie, coming off, she obviously had her first main event against Marina Rodriguez, lost that one. Then she bounced back and beat Tisha Torres. That was a close fight, though. So now she's number 4. Yan Xiaonan is coming off back-to-back losses. She got beat up really bad by Carla, and then she lost to Marina Rodriguez in her most recent fight. So it makes sense to fight each other. But again, it doesn't need to be a 5-round main event. It just doesn't really check many boxes, if any, for me. So half and half, it's like whatever.
I see. I'm actually. I don't really care for this much at all. Not
Mm,
actually the main event part. I'm less turned off by. Like, again, is it an ideal main event for me? No, but to me, I do think that there's something to be learned here. I mean, Mackenzie Dern needs to show that like she can do the 5 rounds and do it successfully because that Marina Rodriguez fight, she got kind of outclassed.
yeah.
I mean, that was actually probably one of the
A
if you
lot of
went off of
weaknesses were showed there.
2021 in terms of main event performances, hers would rank like the most disappointing out of
Yeah.
everybody that year.
Yeah.
And yes, she looked good against Tisha Torres, right? Was her
Right.
last fight. But I would still like to, I think a fight with Yan Xiaonan, like I think it works for her as far as the main event. And for Yan Xiaonan, we've never seen her in a main event spot. So, um, and she is ranked in the top 5 in the division. So in that sense, I'm kind of like, that's good. What I don't like is the fight being made itself because Yan Xiaonan's off back-to-back losses. She
Yeah.
shouldn't have fought Marina Rodriguez in her last time out. Like,
Yeah.
let the girl take a step back.
Right.
She got demolished by Carla.
Yeah.
Not that Carla doesn't do that to many people.
No, literally no.
And you give her Marina Rodriguez, who is the other best contender in the division for a title shot,
Yeah.
and she put up a good fight, but Marina gets to win.
Yeah.
I don't think putting her up against the next best person for a
Still in
potential
the
title
top
shot
5. Yeah.
and Mackenzie Dern. I just like come on. This
I didn't think about it that
Yan
way.
Xiaonan is a very talented fighter, but continuing to kind of throw her to the wolves like this is not. It's kind of risky.
Yeah.
She has 3 straight losses. I mean, all of a sudden she's like a 500 fighter in the
Yeah,
best
man.
women's weight class. It's
That's true.
and Mackenzie Dern's a tough fight. Um, so again, I don't hate it as a main event because I think there's a lot that can be learned. I just hate the fight. Like I
Yeah.
just don't think it makes a ton of sense. Rankings wise, sure, 4v5,
But
but
like on Jan's side specifically, you're
yeah,
like,
Jan's side, I'm like,
yeah,
what is going on here? I mean, McKenzie, it's like fine, it's yeah, I mean, sure,
someone in the top 5.
yes,
Yeah.
but for Zhao Nan, it's like this is puzzling. Like I almost
Yeah.
feel like the UFC just like they like almost like I almost feel like they don't really realize like they're not even like thinking too hard about it and they're just like okay we want to put someone up against a top 5 opponent well Yan
Yeah.
Zhao Nan's available let's give her like McKenzie like it feels like she's kind of being half-assed thrown into these fights
Yeah.
the Marina Rodriguez fight why was she fighting Marina Rodriguez like it didn't make a lot of sense to me Marina Rodriguez is knocking on the door for a title shot
Right.
Yan Zhao Nan got demolished by Carla Esparza
Yeah.
she looked good in the fight it was very close,
Right.
but again, that's just on paper.
Yeah.
That's
That's
kind
true,
of
man.
weird.
I didn't even think about it that way.
And we'll see. Maybe she'll come out here and kind of shock me and put up a great show. And that's why, as a main event, I'm not too disturbed.
Interesting. I
Yeah.
like that.
So it's kind of weird. I kind of flipped it. I kind
I
of
know.
flipped it like a pancake on you. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's October 1st, by the way, and then 3 weeks after that,
Uh-oh.
October 22nd. In Abu Dhabi. They did not say if this is going to be a pay per view or a fight night. I still think they're working out the details because I do think we're going to have 2 pay per views in October. I
Hopefully
believe.
one of them's a free one.
Um, yeah. Um, we will see though on an Abu Dhabi card on October 22nd, Bilal Muhammad taking on Sean Brady. So Bilal Muhammad,
Hmm.
newly or still kind of new to the top 5 of welterweight. He was calling for some pretty big matchups, guys like Hamzat Chimaev, Colby Covington.
Mm-hmm.
We thought those fights would be out of reach. Then there started to get some rumblings that maybe him and Hamzat could be a fight to make.
Yeah.
And instead, he's going to end up taking Sean Brady. So Sean Brady, number 9, coming off a win against Michael Chiesa, kind of his biggest test. A fight he looked great early. Towards the end, he started to get beat up by Chiesa a little bit, but still was able to get the decision win. Do you think that do you like this fight? Like, in terms of for both guys, do you feel like Bilal's being a little bit screwed here? Or do you think, it's just kind of timing wise, this is the best matchup kind of available for him?
Um, Not even really him getting screwed, but I'm just surprised he took this fight. Sean Brady's side, everything checks off. It's perfect for him. It's great. He gets a
Mm.
top 5 opportunity. He's undefeated. He's just taking the next step up the rankings. I am shocked Bilal took this fight. He talks a lot about wanting to fight up against guys like Colby and Hamzat. Honestly, I thought him and Hamzat might actually come to fruition because they were like agreeing to it, but we know that that means nothing because Nate and Dustin have done it for months now. But even like, Bilal and Gilbert Burns even would like make sense. I
Mm.
think that's a good fight. And that didn't happen either. So a little bit weird that he's not getting. I mean, if you're number 5, that's 3 choices right there, and they're all open right now and available. So, I guess if you're Bilal, it's a little unfortunate if you're wanting to get in. But if you're willing to take the fight, I respect that too. Nobody's really calling to fight Sean Brady except for Kevin Holland, but he's in the back right now.
Yeah.
So I like the fight. It's two very grapple heavy fighters though, and I don't know how the fight's gonna play out necessarily, but I'm here for it.
I'm pretty on board with this.
Yeah.
I am. Admittedly, Bilal Muhammad, I've had a hard time sort of accepting him as a top 5 welterweight. Just being honest, I understand he's a very good fighter. He's earned his way there. The wins over Stephen Thompson and most recently Vicente Luque speak for
Yeah.
themselves.
Yeah.
Not the most exciting fighter in the world, but again, it doesn't matter. I just care
Right.
about seeing the best fight the best. Even though in our group chat, if he saw what our group chat, the things I've joked about him, probably, again, I'm getting my knees bashed in with the
Yeah.
club.
Right.
Anyways, I called for him to fight Shavkat after Rachmanov's last win.
You did.
And I was serious about it.
I know.
Even though I've recognized like how tough of a fight that's going to be for anybody. I do think Bilal's in kind of a tough spot here. He is ranked number 5. He called for some big fights, but I don't think the UFC will truly trust him in a high profile. Like, sure, they'll give him a main event, and they gave him Luque, who was the most like
Yeah.
fail proof fighter when it comes to having exciting fights, and it was boring as shit.
Yeah.
So you couldn't make an exciting fight with Luque because you looked so good in the fight. To be fair,
True.
but I don't think the UFC are wanting. Like, I don't think they trust him with like a Colby or with a Hamzat, because like the last thing they want is that fight to not deliver. Like, that's going to be a huge fight if it were to be made.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that's kind of the potentially the reputation he kind of has right now. The John Fitch.
Yeah.
Never forget, John Fitch got cut after like one loss coming off of like a GSP title fight loss or something. I don't remember the timetable, but he like had won all these fights in the UFC, took like one L,
Yeah.
and the UFC like cut him
No.
because they like. I think the words of Dana, if he wanted to fall asleep quicker, he'd put on the John Fitch fight or something like that. I think was the word. So
That's tough.
Bilal. So not to say Bilal is necessarily to that degree, but he is. You can tell by the reaction to him online. It's kind of controversial, but he
Yeah.
seems like such a nice guy.
I know.
So I think it's because of the fight style. That's why people are kind of
Yeah.
hot and cold on him. With Sean Brady, he's a hot new up and comer, but also a guy that there's a lot of question marks about coming off of that third round against Chiesa where he got kind of pummeled.
Mm-hmm.
He snuck through with the victory because Chiesa couldn't finish him, but I mean,
Yeah.
he got beat up.
Yeah.
And he showed that he really is kind of one-dimensional right now. Like, the striking is, you got outstruck by Michael Chiesa. Like, I think that says something about where you stand right now. But his wrestling is phenomenal.
Of course.
So, you have two guys known for their grappling, heavy on the grappling.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. I don't know what kind of fight we're going to get. It could be someone just dominating, lay and pray, and not doing much, just holding position for 5 rounds. It could be that.
Yeah.
Or what I hope to see is it cancels out,
That's what I hope.
and we get to see these
striking.
guys in some extended striking periods, and we'll see how that goes. Bilal held up pretty well against Luque,
And
but a lot of that was the threat of the takedown.
Right.
I don't think Sean Brady's necessarily worried about. I mean, he could be, but I don't think that's necessarily the concern. But honestly, if this fight stays standing for 5 rounds, I kind of favor Bilal Muhammad. Like, I'm not going in. I feel like he has the better striking than Sean Brady right now, just as I view it right now.
Yeah, it is a very interesting fight. October 22nd. Okay.
And yeah, I guess for Bilal, like ideally he would be fighting someone in that around his
Wonder why they
spot.
didn't do like him and Gilbert though,
Um, that's interesting.
because he's not a name like
Haven't
Hamza
really
and
haven't really heard
Colby.
Gilbert's name being tossed around much recently.
Yeah,
Gilbert still. It seems like any interview I see with him, people are asking him if he would take a Hamzat rematch, and I'm like, why are we asking him
I
this?
know, dude. Let it go.
Like Hamzat's he won the fight, like he's
Yeah.
gonna like maybe down the line for
Right.
sure, but
Right.
like why ask him about what's next? You know, it just I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, I that is interesting that you asked that. It has to be like Gilbert's
Timing,
not ready to
maybe.
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's just not ready to go. But as a consolation, I think it's pretty good.
Right. Yeah.
Let's get into the rest of UFC Vegas 58. We start with the co-main event. Two guys with a combined 2 fights in the UFC, one each coming in,
Yeah.
getting a co-main spot. And for Caio Bahayo, this was his second co-main spot in as many fights. So you can tell the UFC
Yeah.
buying into these two guys. And Bahayo gets a pretty dominant unanimous decision win over Armen Petrosyan, both former Contender Series veterans as well, alumni, as I like to call them, of the show. Ohio actually fighting twice on there.
Yep.
2 straight co-main events, 2 pretty dominant victories. I know the one with Omar Gadzhiev ended kind of weird, but
Yeah.
all in all, Dominic, I think this dude's a problem at middleweight. I think he's a real problem. I think he's very talented.
Yeah.
And in this fight, Petrosyan's a deadly striker. This dude has hands of stone, and he is so talented with the striking. Bohio not only looked competitive on the feet, but also just out. I mean, just the grappling. He just completely dominated any sort of grappling in this fight. He did the same with Omar Gadzhiev.
Yes.
He's a problem, Dom.
Yeah, there's no other way to put it. He's physically very gifted. He is competent enough on the feet to compete with people long enough to set up his takedowns.
He's got the
grappling.
reach. You know, he's explosive.
Yeah, so he's definitely good, and especially like if he can continue growing and polishing the skills on the feet more, obviously as he continues to evolve up. And for Armen Petrosyan, we just got to see some weaknesses exposed. I feel like his takedown defense wasn't all there, but I'm not
great.
Yeah, well, really, it was non-existent. I don't know if he defended any, but like you said, on the feet, he's a beast, and he was in that sick fight with Gregory Rodriguez. He's there to scrap if someone's willing to do that with him. So it's not like I'm just writing him off after a loss like this, because it is a good loss. I'll be just curious, really, for both, how the matchmaking goes moving forward.
Yeah, for Bahayo, did he have a call? I don't think he had a call out. I don't think he did, but
he called out Drickus.
That's right. Sorry, I knew someone in here had a call out, but he called out Drickus, who is the newest member of the top 15 at middleweight.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if he'll get that fight. I'd love to see it.
That's an interesting
Especially
fight.
coming off of Drickus' last performance, which I still am not sure if I consider that performance like a positive or negative to how I evaluate him. But all I know is Bahayo looks very polished right now. He's so explosive. The athleticism is unmatched. I mean, his speed from going from explosive striking to immediately exploding into a takedown attempt.
Yeah.
I mean, Petrosyan was just caught
so off guard.
Yeah, every time. And I think that's a big weakness for Petrosyan moving forward. It seems the book is there on how to beat this guy. Yeah. And for him, he's 35 years old.
Oh, is he? I didn't even realize that.
I don't feel super confident that we're really going to see him like reach another level. Like I think he's very talented. It's where he's good at. He's great at it. And good for some fun fights. I mean, Gregory Rodriguez and him, that was fun. But I don't know if we'll really ever see him hit like a top 15 or anything like that. I just don't know if he has time.
Would you be surprised if Caio's next fight is top 15? I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if the UFC did.
On one hand, I would say yes, because I feel like Well, it'd be the same amount of fights that it took Dricus to get top 15, right? Because
Yeah,
this is
Drake
his
has fought
third
twice,
fight.
I think. Yeah.
And Bahio's gotten 2 co-main events, so yeah, I would not be surprised. When you
That's
put it
it.
that way, middleweight especially being a division that is probably maybe the weakest of the men's divisions,
Yeah,
like
I'd
it
say
might
it
be
probably is.
right
Yeah.
now. So I think you get a guy like this who shows a lot of potential, and he's a guy that you can kind of like. He's got a nice look to him. He's like kind of presents himself as like a fight nerd, right? He's got the
And he speaks
glasses,
English, even though he's
speaks
Brazilian.
English, but then he's got these gnarly tattoos. I mean, the neck
Yeah.
tattoo is intense.
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
way the script on there, it kind of looks like a serial killer writing on the walls or
Yeah.
something. Like
Yeah.
it's very intense. So he's got a good look. Um, I like to see what's next for him because this was pretty dominant. And
Yeah.
also, by the way, this might be a knock on him in this fight. Did you know he only landed 12 significant strikes in this fight?
No, but like immediately looking back in my head, I'm not surprised. I mean, he
Like,
was constantly just like looking for
does that
transitions on the
make it more
ground. And
impressive? It's got to make it more impressive, right? That he could get a win that nobody even questioned, especially
with
when we
landing
talk
12
about damage being key, and
Yeah.
he clearly won that fight all 3 rounds.
Yeah, that's a good
That
point.
was very Damian Maya esque. If
That's a
I
good
will say,
comparison. Yeah.
yeah. Next up, Saeed, not related to Habib Nurmagomedov, but still from Dagestan. He is Habib if Habib decided he wanted to strike a little bit.
Yeah.
He gets the win over Douglas Silva de Andrade via unanimous decision.
Scrappy.
This ended up being a pretty fun scrap, Dom. What did you take away here?
Douglas Silva de Andrade is a fucking tank, first and foremost. I
That
think you called him a brute on Friday, I think, and he just is, man. He just marches forward. Saeed showed a couple flaws, but not like bad flaws. I think it was just Douglas just pressing forward. He's gonna land eventually, but
Mhm.
Saeed's really good. He's so
Yeah.
good on the feet. He's so good. He's so fast. He's so long. He doesn't even like really utilize his grappling, but it's scary because you like know it's there in his back
Yeah.
pocket if he wants to use
Submitted
it.
Cody Stamen in less than a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. I did you hear the stat that they were saying going into the fight?
Mhm.
He if it didn't happen obviously, but he was on 2 in a row finishes in under a minute. Had he finished Douglas in under a minute, it would have beaten Ronda Rousey for like
Oh,
most
wow.
consecutive sub 1 minute performances. But
That would have been insane.
yeah, bantamweight is on fire.
Yeah, dude.
And this is, I mean, you literally have him and Umar Nurmagomedov both in bantamweight right now.
Can we get
It's
that
just-
fight next?
I am actually here for it. I saw
Yeah.
people call for it actually when Umar fought, and why not, right?
I mean, they're not. Apparently, they're not they're not tight like that. I guess Saeed's.
They've
not
probably
really,
wrougave a bear together.
I'm sure they've
before,
crossed
but
paths because I don't think Dagestan's like a super
yeah, I
big
think
area,
like he's
but,
trained with Habib and whatever.
but
But
apparently he's not in that like
Right.
he's not training with under the Abdul Manap like guys.
I would do it. I would. That'd be crazy, bro.
This was a fight. I felt like the line was a little staggered to Nurmagomedov here. Like I thought Douglas Silva de Andrade being such a tank and a beefy boy that he just had a better chance than what the odds were telling us going in.
Yeah.
I think that's really the takeaway here. I just felt like Saeed's very good, but I think this fight proved that he's not necessarily like I don't think he's on an Umar's level yet.
That's a good takeaway, I think. I'm actually trying to find this tweet really quick from Aaron Bronstetter. Go
Um,
ahead, but I'll find it.
So, what I wanted to say was, you know what this fight reminded me when these two were standing?
What's that?
You know those like tops, you spin them and they just
Yeah.
like spin?
Yeah.
That's what those two did
There
the
were
whole
so
fight.
Many spinning
So
things.
much spinning shit in this
Yeah.
fight. It was cracking me up at points. Like Douglas Silva would miss on like a spinning back fist, and then he'd like square up, and then he'd just do it
Spin
again.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, man, that I'm like these guys were going, man, I'm about to spin so motherfucking loud right now.
Listen, I have to say this stat really fast. Shout out Aaron Bronstetter. I feel like we mention him more than anybody else, journalist-wise. With Saeed Nurmagomedov scoring a win, fighters with Magomed in their name have a record of 48 wins and 8 losses in the UFC. That's an 86% win percentage.
Yep.
So there's that for you.
It's pretty insane. And when you look at the losses, I know Saeed has one to Hayoni Barcelos, who's
Yeah,
another very talented guy at
yeah,
bantamweight. But like Ankalaev has a loss to Paul Craig, and then
yeah.
like outside of that,
With
it's a
one
lot of
second left in the fight too.
a fight he was winning up
Yeah,
until that point. And then I think outside of that, the rest of the guys like that Mustafayev who has the win over Fiziev. He has two losses in the UFC.
mm,
Magomed Mustafayev, I believe is his name. Mostly guys who aren't even in the company anymore. It's just so like it's crazy what that region is producing. I mean, it's truly it's takeover of the neckbeards, and
I would do the Battle of Nurmagomedov. I would. That would
I
be.
I'm not against it, but like I just said, I do think Umar's a bit further along
Yeah,
than Saeed. I think this fight kind of showed that. But make no mistake about it.
we're gonna
They're
see it one day.
yes, they're very talented guys all around, and I think people want to see it because it's the it's just such an interesting name
Yeah,
battle thing, and truthfully, they're both just so talented. But
yeah, yeah.
next one here, I can't believe it's on here. I can't believe I put it on
They
here.
found a way.
Chase the Vanilla Gorilla Sherman snaps his 4-fight losing streak inside of the octagon. Gets the third round TKO of Jared Vandura. 3 minutes 10 seconds in of round number 3.
Yeah.
Our what we kind of mock as like the showcase heavyweight main card fight of the week that the UFC kind of seems to love putting on main cards. These two unremarkable heavyweights going at it, and a lot of
Yeah.
times it's like the worst fight of the card. This fight actually quite surprised me. It was actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
Wasn't fun losing money on it. I did have this. Well, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but I wasn't fun losing money on it. And honestly, it only put more salt in the wound when there was a finish in round 3. That definitely like hurt me even more.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, shout out to Chase Sherman and Jared Vandura. They both brought it. I also though have to say like Chase Sherman, I thought fought a very good fight. Like I
He
think
did.
I
He
don't
did.
know what is. I don't know if he. I would say he should probably get a bonus off the top of my head. I mean, there's not
I,
many people you give one to like him, Cody Brundage. Those are kind of
and
maybe
David,
maybe Onama, but like I don't even know if you give Onama one
and then
over
Fiziev they might have
Sherman.
given. I don't
Yeah,
know
that's
if they've
true.
given him out yet, but
Or Jacob Kakramanov. I mean,
true.
might be up, but like I think he's at the top of that list maybe. And I
Yeah.
mean, for a guy who was 3-9 coming in and
Yeah.
combined
Toss him a
two
bag.
stints, like I gotta say I'm kind of proud of the guy. And for Vandura though, big question, like what was going on with that? Like, don't get me wrong, he was hanging in there,
Mm-hmm.
had his moments for sure, but like his team and him, like I don't know what they were thinking. Like it was pretty clear the way that fight was going. Like he was getting beat up a little bit,
Yeah.
and he's a guy that has a clear advantage in the ground
I
game.
know. He never even had a takedown
Never even
attempt.
attempted, and that was becoming a popular like
Oh yeah, it was all
prop
over the
bet.
place. Yeah.
Submission, round 2, round 3 submission.
Yeah.
Didn't even attempt a takedown. I
Crazy.
mean,
They were just
I was big on a Vandura submission. I really thought that might be the way this fight goes.
yeah, that's what I had predicted in my head. We kind of said on Thursday that they were gonna basically they were both fighting for their jobs and they both came out and fought that way. So Sherman definitely earned another fight or a contract. I don't know what his situation is. And Vandura, like honestly, he'll probably fight again in the UFC too.
Yeah, we said that they're fighting for their careers, but like, are they? I don't know.
Probably not now. No.
Next up, Jamie Malarkey got a split decision win over Michael Johnson that some would say, in the words of current President Joe Biden, that's a bunch of malarkey.
I see what you did there.
So this was probably the best fight of the night,
Yeah, had it not been for this fight, Sherman and Vandura would have got fight of the night.
which is kind of crazy. Yeah, Malarkey and Michael Johnson, man. We kind of thought this fight would be pretty great, but
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to go the full distance. I really thought a finish would come in. And in round 1, I thought that looked like a smart play.
Someone I thought was going.
I know, Dom, that probably hurt. You had that as in one of your parlays, that inside the distance. I mean, 2 knockdowns in round 1.
Yeah.
One guy, you have Michael Johnson nearly putting out Jamie Malarkey, and then Malarkey coming back and dropping Michael Johnson at the end of the round. The action didn't stop for the entirety of the fight. It was back and forth, momentum swing.
Yeah.
Round two was a clear Malarkey round,
He
and
did
round
so
three,
good.
right when you thought, because he was like breaking down Michael
Oh,
Johnson
I
in
thought he
round
was going to
two.
finish in the
And
second.
then round three, where I'm feeling very confident in my Malarkey money line play on the parlay I had, all of a sudden Michael Johnson has his best run of the fight. And
Yeah.
I'm like, man, these two guys
Chill.
just, I loved it. I loved what I saw here from both guys. This is, truthfully, betting bias, right? I fully admit I would probably be angry if I had bet on Michael Johnson or if I had just not bet on the fight at all.
Yeah.
But I can't deny I had a betting bias. So when I watched it, I thought round one was very close. And then
They both had knockdowns.
and I had round two for Malarkey and round three for Johnson. So
Yeah.
to me, I thought there was I wasn't sitting there thinking, oh, it's Michael Johnson's getting the nod. I'm screwed. I thought it was a close fight.
Yeah.
So I saw a lot of people saying for Johnson. I think the vast majority scored this fight for Johnson, and rightfully so, I'm sure. But that's why I'm not coming in here more livid like I've been on certain fights. Just being full transparent about it. But this feels like a fight that nobody lost. Like nobody.
Yeah.
Really, the only thing that sucks about saying that though is like Michael Johnson doesn't get a win bonus because of that.
Yeah.
But truthfully, both guys come out looking like $1 million in my opinion.
Yeah, Michael Johnson does it again. He's always in barn burners. And Jamie Malarkey, short career, 3-3 in the UFC, but he's always in fucking wars too,
He's in
man.
scraps, man.
I still believe in that kid's potential a little bit, but he likes to get hit. That's
I
the
do.
problem.
Yeah, he's. It's kind of weird, right? Because if you really go off of what the majority opinion was, he should be like 2-4 in the UFC, and it's just kind of a tough. Like, I still believe in. Like, I consider him one of a prospect, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, he looks great here, but then I almost feel like when he's fighting certain guys, he's getting the best of them.
True. That's a great way to
And
put
I
it,
don't know
actually.
if that's because of where he is lacking or because they're just shining the brightest. Like Michael Johnson this was even an improvement on the Alan Patrick performance. It was He looked great here against a guy more on his level in terms of striking. And
Dude, isn't he still so fast, Michael? Shoo.
this dude,
His hand speed's
I want Michael Johnson to keep fighting forever. Like just
Yeah.
keep that guy fighting. He's fun to watch. Yeah. Next up, Cody Brundage.
This was the most surprising finish.
So you're a striker now.
Yeah, yeah.
He gets the first round KO over Trayshawn Gore. I was so excited I didn't even put down the time of the finish on here. I don't know what it is. Cody Brundage, through his 2 UFC performances and even on his Contender Series loss to who did he lose to? It was something Clark. William Knight. That's who he lost to.
William Knight.
Contender.
Yeah.
I don't really remember much from that fight. But then in the UFC so far, he lost to Nick Maximov, right? And then
I think so.
And then he got the win over that Daucha Lungambola.
Yeah, he got a first round
and that
sub,
was
I think.
and that was where Daucha looked like was beating the shit out of him. Yeah. And out of nowhere he got a submission. So really I've been kind of underwhelmed with Brundage up to this point. Like he was 1-1. And that comeback win in the first fight where he looked like he was on the ropes, about to be finished, somehow gets a takedown and gets a submission but before the end of the round. The Maximov fight, he didn't show me a ton. And then there I was kind of like, okay, if this dude gets if he goes up against a smarter fighter, they're going to put him away.
Yeah.
And here he's going up against Trayshawn Gore, who
has nasty power.
His biggest issue, I think, is his output.
100%. Yeah.
And cardio, I guess, for that. But neither one of those became really an issue here. Didn't have time to.
Yeah. It was 350 in the first.
Brundage, thank you. Brundage was adamant about going for the takedown early. He landed multiple takedowns. Fight gets back on the feet though, and he says, "All right, I'm done with that shit." And then lands truly a nasty fucking combination. I mean, the knockdown had stiffened up Trayshawn, and then he kind of got on top of him. And those knockouts, they look like they're from a video game because Trayshawn's like
Yes.
fighting back, and then literally just one boop, and he just done.
Yeah.
Zero.
It
There's
was,
nothing left.
he put him to sleep.
Just a great performance for a guy who I had been kind of out on, and now he's 2-1 in the UFC, and arguably had the biggest standout performance here of the night.
Yeah, no, I want to ask you because you have an interesting relationship with the Ultimate Fighter. Tresean Gore, obviously he was in the finals, supposed to be
Mhm.
against Brian Battle, and he did get injured, so he didn't get to fight in it. So I guess it's necessarily not like a bad thing that the UFC still brought him in to give him a chance. But like, do you think after like this type of loss, do you think he even gets another chance in the UFC now?
It's hard to say, but if you asked me just off of like what I've seen, then no.
He's like, well, yeah, we gave you a chance because you got injured, but
I just
you
don't
know,
think he's shown much if you really think about it. Like
yeah,
the Brian Battle fight, he was super disappointing in that fight.
yeah,
Like just
yeah,
his cardio didn't hold up, yet his output was so low.
right, right.
So it was like kind of just a very weird fight. I actually just watched his first fight because I'm watching that season of The Ultimate Fighter right now, and I just watched his fight. I forget
His
Ryder
first
New
fight was the
Ryder
knockout, right?
Ryder no
Okay,
Ryder Newman. Not that you would remember that name, but it went to a decision.
okay.
But I guess that's a spoiler that the next fight will
Oopsies.
be a knockout. But no, I knew that he has that reputation for a
Yeah,
reason.
yeah,
Um, he looked good in that fight that I just watched. But I mean, his output still wasn't super
yeah.
high. It just
It's very odd.
he's an odd guy. I think he's just very green right now. And
Yeah,
here you got knocked out by a guy who's not known for his stand up. I don't know if you can really bounce back from that right now. I'm sure he
yeah,
can over time. Go string some wins together. He's got the he's got the tools.
yeah,
He's just
yeah.
got to put it together, right?
Yeah, when you
So
say green, I mean I think he's like 4-2 now. So like, I mean,
yeah,
and he's
5 and
still
2.
super
Yeah,
young. So yeah,
yeah. David Onamadam, we didn't really get I kind of unfortunately over passed over him in our
you gave me
preview
a
by
chance at
accident.
the end.
But it was a big deal that David Onama got to stay on this card. He's
Yeah.
Dominic's biggest prospect for this year. He said everybody to watch out for. He made that claim
Hmm.
when Onama hadn't even won in the UFC yet. He was 0-1.
Yeah.
So Dominic, a true ride or die for David Onama. This was his third outing in the UFC. He was 1-1 coming in here, going up against a familiar foe, a very last second opponent, Garrett Armfield, who is currently fighting at bantamweight. He's a bantamweight champion for one of those regional
Hmm.
promotions. But they had fought on the what do you call it, the
They fought. It was
amateurs.
both of their last amateur fights
Yeah,
was against
I
each
was
other.
like, I couldn't remember the amateurs is
Yeah.
where they fought. No, Nama had to win there, so he was the biggest favorite on the card. He was like a minus 900.
Yeah.
My big takeaway from this, truly, like David Onama looked good. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He
Right.
got a really slick submission in round two. Round two, he looked great. I mean,
He did. Yeah.
but my bigger takeaway is like I want to see Garrett Armfield fight again.
I was going to say the
And
same thing.
and
Yeah.
it's weird because I want to see him fight in his weight class, but bantamweight's so fucking stacked
I know.
that like I guess that's where he should go. But it's like shit. It's like sending someone. I mean, featherweight's stacked too, but it's like God, I feel like I'm sending them into a tougher division. But round one, Onama did not look like a minus 900 favorite.
No.
Not that he looked bad, but Garrett Armfield came to fight. And
He
those
did,
two were
man.
trading.
He did.
And Armfield landed the biggest shot of the round. He rocked Onama
Mhm.
pretty bad. So good on Onama to get the win again. Like, good. I still think like Onama should be fighting better opponents than this. And I know he lost his original opponent,
But
but
that was still like what
even
Austin
Austin
Lingo.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, I feel like Onama's above this at this point.
Yeah. I mean, the guy
I'm-
debuted against Mason Jones and then fought Gabriel Benitez.
Yeah, like I get it. You're slow building a guy, but like I feel like we're going down. Like
Yeah.
Mason Jones and then Gabriel Benitez and then
At least go like a
Austin
steady,
yeah, like
up.
there should be an incline here.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have a ton of takeaways on him, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming you'll have something pretty positive to say here. So what do you feel? How did you, as a David Onama stan, did you walk away from this performance feeling maybe more positive, more maybe a little negative, or was it pretty just consistent with how you felt about him all along?
Probably still the same because on one end we got to see his groundwork. He's pretty slick down there,
He
and the
is.
submission came
He
well.
is.
But like that, he has 10 finishes, 100% finish rate, but it's 6 knockouts, 4 subs. So almost 50-50, 60-40. But in the first round, he gets hit. You know what I mean? I mean, he got hit in that fight against Gabriel Benitez. He got wobbled a little bit in that first round. He got wobbled here against Garrett Armfield. And I mean, people get hit, but he's kind of okay with getting into the fire early. And so it was nice to see him get to the second round for this fight. Obviously, he went the distance with Mason Jones. That fight was fucking incredible. That fight was so awesome. But James Krause is like, dude, chill out, fight smarter. Then you see what he comes out and does in the second round. He looks great. So when he's on, I think he's got like a really high ceiling, obviously. But if he's complacent and he gets comfortable going out there and swinging and banging, as we like to throw that term around, it gets a little nervous, a
Mhm.
little nerve wracking. But I do believe in him. I'm excited. Hopefully, we'll get him one more time before the year's over as well. But yeah, please let's bump the competition up for David and let's get Garrett Armfield in there, um, in the UFC for another fight for sure.
Great. Our opener of the whole card, Roddy Lawrence, the guy that probably most people knew coming in here,
Hmm.
a guy who was kind of on a lot of people's radar, growing a little bit, a fantastic wrestler, grappler, also has one of the best cardios in the whole UFC.
Yeah.
And Dominic,
Oh
not only
my.
did he get outworked for 3 rounds by Sodiq Kakramanov, he got out grappled to every pillar to post
It
for
was
15 minutes.
wow.
What a
Yeah.
performance for Kakramanov to come in here against Ronnie Lawrence, who's very tough opponent, and just make it look easy.
Yeah, it really was like, well, we're about to get into the bet slip, but a lot of times I don't necessarily have like too many negative takeaways. I feel like I do place good bets, and if they miss, they miss. That's just the name of the game sometimes.
Mm.
But this one was one of the ones in a long time where I felt like, oh shit, I did not do enough homework. I missed the ball on this, and I lost money. That's what this was because Kakramanov looked unreal for 15 straight minutes. Dominated this fight. Absolutely dominated it everywhere it went. Looked great on the feet. Out grappled the cardio machine and Ronnie Lawrence. I mean, it was a perfect performance by
That's
him.
bantamweight, right?
Yeah, that's bantamweight too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, yeah. I mean, come on, dude. Like
yeah.
Ronnie Lawrence is still a very talented guy in that
I
division,
know.
and
It's crazy.
all of a sudden, Kakramanov is like,
Ran through him, man.
I mean, that dude. Be on the lookout for him moving forward. That's
Oh,
all I say.
absolutely.
Let's move on to the bet slip. Another little bit of a disappointing week. We kind of go back to back, dropping just around the minus half units.
Yeah.
So it's like we're holding steady, but we're still dropping a little bit, and we're already kind of. I mean, we're basically breaking even for the year.
Yeah.
It's a tough week. If one bet goes the other way, like
I
the
know.
Courtney Casey one hurts. That
That
hurts
would have been
pretty bad.
huge too,
Because we felt pretty strongly that we thought she won that fight against Antonina. I can't say anything because I'm the guy here that's thinking, well, I thought Johnson Malarkey was pretty close, and
Yeah, yeah.
so I'm not allowed to say anything. I get it, but if Courtney Casey goes the other way, all of a sudden it's like a huge week for us. So it's
And it's even like that third parlay, like Johnson Malarkey inside the distance.
mhm.
Motherfuckers get knocked down 17 times in the fight and nobody gets been like literally that right
Yeah.
there we go positive. If Courtney hits, we go well in the positive because we had 2 units on her. It's like so like I said, I mean really to me, only bad bet and it's on me is was Ronnie Lawrence, but like
Mm.
Noah put the unit 1.35 on Vandura and Sherman. Where does it end? 3 minutes in. To be fair, Noah, even if you would have bet under 2.5, that wouldn't hit either. So if that makes you
That's
feel any
true.
better,
That's true.
but
And there was some luck on our side. Like I said,
yeah,
I had the Malarkey decision go my way, which helped for my parlay. And then, which fight was that? The Nzechukwu Roberson fight. I had under 2.5 rounds, and that hit with like 12 seconds to
12
spare.
seconds. Yeah,
So there was some luck on my side this week. I actually felt the love from the MMA gods, the betting gods for once. after like just the brutal path of the last few months where it felt like everything that could go wrong would go wrong. So
I can
I'm
tell,
not.
like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I've just truthfully, I feel pretty good. Even though again, it sucks to go back to back weeks of just so close to positive, but
Hmm.
um, as a whole, I still feel like we are doing much better as betters. It's just about getting them to hit. You know.
Right. And I was just going to say, I mean, literally looking at this sheet, you hit 3 of 4 with your kind of fight prop slash over under slash, go the
Hmm.
distance type stuff. You're feeling confident in that realm, and it's pretty obvious here. And like the Zahabi Tercios, I mean, lock of the night on this bet sheet. It was a perfect bet there to put the unit and a half down.
Yeah,
But
what
like,
a
is that where you're
weird.
feeling the most confident right now?
That's interesting that you pointed that out because I really haven't. I really don't think about it like that when I put bets in. Like to me, it's just kind of like I don't feel any like I don't go into when I'm picking bets. I don't really go into it in my mind feeling like I'm better at a certain thing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Outside of I guess parlays, like again,
Yeah.
I'm pretty hesitant to go more than two legs anymore because
Yeah.
I've just been burned by the three leg parlay so much.
Yeah.
The one and I'm always putting like two units on it like a fucking jackass. So um, yeah, I just it's interesting that you noticed that. I really didn't even think about that. It's just wherever I feel like I go based off of how I feel, how I evaluate a fight.
Right. Of
I
course.
thought Courtney Casey should have been the favorite against Antonina, and then when I saw she was a pretty heavy underdog, I'm like, well,
I'm playing it, Yeah.
RDA I thought was much. I would still probably a slightly favored Fiziev on the odds, but I didn't think RDA was a plus 180.
Right.
Sure, that's how the fight turned out, but that's why I kind of put money on him because I feel like that's where the value was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some of those money line, like the money line parlay, Bahia and Malarkey were two guys I felt very strongly in.
Hmm.
That based on the matchups that were going to have strong performances. I was mostly right about that. And then you do some statistically like Zahabi Tercios, Ricky Tercios goes to decisions all the time.
Yeah.
I said on a Thursday show I was very tempted to go Ricky by decision, but I said I thought Zahavi might keep it close, and then you
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, Tercios, I mean, only landing like 15% of his strikes. Like,
Yeah, that was crazy
what the
stats.
hell happened there? So, Zahavi ends up kind of making it look somewhat easy, 29-28 across the board. But I digress. I still feel good about where we stand, even though
Hmm.
again, back to back negative weeks. I think the bets we're putting out there are just much better than what we were doing before. And when I say we, I really mean me, because I'm the one that's been holding back our year numbers.
Man,
So
now I've got the yips, so that's awesome. Once we once we both come together, I'm telling you, man,
yeah, it's
that's when it's
good.
gonna be nice.
Yeah, so that's gonna wrap it up for that. And as always, Dom, we end this show only one way, and that's with closing statements, the point of the show where me and Dom can get anything and everything off our chest, MMA related or not. So, Dominic, do you have any closing statements for this Monday edition?
I do. I want to ask, and you're a movie connoisseur, and I was looking for clips for the Battle of Rafaels for the main event tonight, and
Yeah,
I couldn't help but think Rafael meant Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I love
right.
those guys. And they've made so many movies over the years, animated, real life, kind of mixture of animation and real life, like the newer ones. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
yeah,
those,
yeah.
but there's just so many of them. But I love, love, love the three like real person in costume movies from
Yeah.
the 1990s so much. I pulled that clip with Rafael from the first movie, but Noah, well, really, the audience, do you guys like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Do you like those OG 1990s movies? Because I love them so much. I think they're fucking hilarious and so good. What do you think about those, Noah? Because you're a different type of movie critic than me.
Well, in a sense, but I really do like the original Ninja Turtles movie from 1990.
Yeah,
I think it's just a lot of fun.
so
I did
fun.
I did watch it a little bit as a kid, but I don't remember watching Ninja Turtles that much. But I just remember the look of the costume so much
Yeah,
because there was a TV show that me and my cousin would watch called Dinosaurs. Does anybody remember that show where it
I
was
feel
like
like I've heard it.
they were dinosaurs, but they were like almost like in a modern day. So they
Huh.
were like they were. It was like a family of dinosaurs in a house, and like they're all dressed like they're like humans but dinosaurs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Right.
Like they're all dressed up like going to work or whatever, drinking coffee, all
Mm.
that. But it's dinosaurs. But they're in the same type of costumes that the Ninja Turtles are.
Gotcha.
And that show just cracked me up because the look of the dinosaurs is so fucking funny to me. But I just remember that look, those costumes. They're very
Yeah.
memorable looks. The second movie I remember liking because I actually watched them all like a couple years ago, so they're
I
more
just
fresh.
that was the first thing I did when we got HBO Max. I watched those 3
Oh,
movies.
really? Yeah. So the second one I like a little bit less. It's a little more kid friendly than like the
Mhm.
first one. I feel like you can kind of it's a little edgy,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Right.
But the second one I felt like was very heavily leaning towards the kids, but it's still solid.
Yeah.
The third movie I think is a pile of trash.
Yeah, it's
The
not
one where
great.
the
That's
one
the
where they
worst.
time travel.
Yeah, to Japan or
Yeah,
something.
that one's pretty bad. Like the costumes are bad in that one. Like
They did get
the
worse.
mouths like
Yeah.
aren't moving right. It's a mess. And then the new ones, like the ones that they
Now
did.
these I've not seen.
There's two of them. Michael
Mhm.
Bay. I don't know if he directed them, but I think he was heavily involved in the making. I don't.
Yeah.
Megan Fox is in them, stuff
Mhm.
like that. I didn't really care for either one of them, but they're not like terrible. Like I would recommend you probably watch them since you're such a fan of the
Yeah.
original, just to see. It's just a little like I don't love the look of them in the
I've
movie.
seen those pictures. They look yeah.
But all in all, like they're not terrible, but they're pretty mediocre at best. Like
Yeah.
WWE's Sheamus is in one of them.
Really? How about
He
that?
plays he's like one of the side villains, I think.
He would be a good villain. I could see that.
Yeah. So my closing statement for today is I have to issue a statement on behalf of the show and just as Dominic's
Oh boy.
co-lead.
I forgot this was coming.
There's not too many times, I throw a lot of shit at Dom in this show. Like I make him uncomfortable. I air out his horny laundry.
Yeah.
I can't believe I just said horny laundry instead of dirty laundry. It's pretty.
I kind of like that phrase better.
um, I make Dom. Sometimes I like treat Dom like he'll say something and I'll just come out and be like, "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And Dominic is much more nice about it to me. Like I'm just quite a dick to Dom sometimes. And that continued on Thursday when Dominic was talking about copyright law, and he was talking about the video that you guys might have seen in Thursday's video.
Yeah.
The office style interaction between Henry Cejudo, Sean O'Malley, side characters Davis and Figueiredo and Uriah Faber in the background. And I was like cracking my ass off. I'm like, Dominic, you're over here getting worried about a little Twitter video getting copyright striked. I'm like, we put whole ass movie scenes in our episodes. And that night, we literally got a copyright claim, not strike.
Yeah,
a
claim, guys. Our channel's healthy. We're good.
So I am here to issue an apology to Dom for. It turns out I don't know shit, and not only that, but the irony, like, of that situation has not set in yet. But when it does, I'm gonna have a good old laugh about it. But for now, Dominic knows everything. I know nothing. That's what you guys got to take away moving forward. And maybe if I had just told him, yeah, maybe don't do it, we may not have a copyright claim on that video. So
We live and learn.
I mean, it was a funny ass video.
It is so funny, dude. I had to keep it in. Yeah.
Did I realize that it was it the Mac Life that put
It
that
was
out?
BT Sport.
BT
UFC
Sport.
BT Sport. Yeah.
I don't know if I would have said it differently if I had known that it was like a major, like for some reason I thought it was like some random Joe Schmo
Oh,
filming this.
yeah.
So that's why I thought it was so funny. I was like, what is this? Was some fucking kid at the fights
Just
that
right
happened to
place, right
catch
time.
this?
Yeah.
No, it turns out it's BT Sport. Okay, well, they're
Yeah.
pretty big, so I guess I could see that. But look, I'm an idiot, guys. I don't know what to say. Look
Oh
at me.
no.
I have the guns out. Just I'm all ass, no brains here.
Uh,
But for those of you at home watching, we appreciate you. That's all the time
absolutely.
we have. I'm Noah Baker. That's Dominic Slee. We're the Below Average Joes, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.